The moment that drunk stranger's hand wrapped around Rachel's wrist, I knew three things. 1. He had no idea who I was. 2. My entire team was watching from across that bar. And 3. This guy just made the worst mistake of his miserable life. 8 months of deployment, and the first night home with my wife ends like this. Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your city or country. I'm Ethan, Navy SEAL. Been serving for 9 years now. The kind of job where you leave home not knowing if you're coming back. My wife Rachel, she's the reason I always come back. 24 hours ago, I landed stateside after 8 months in classified operations I can't talk about. Rachel waited for me at the base, tears streaming down her face, holding a sign that said, "Welcome home, hero." She hates calling me that. Says I'm just her Ethan. Tonight was supposed to be simple. Dinner at her favorite Italian place, then drinks at Murphy's bar downtown. Murphy's isn't fancy, wooden tables, dim lighting, local crowd. Rachel loved it because it felt real. No pretense, just good people and cold beer. We got there around 9. The place was half full, Saturday night energy buzzing through the room. Rachel wore that blue dress I bought her before my last deployment. She looked so beautiful it hurt. We grabbed a corner booth, ordered drinks, talked about everything and nothing. 8 months of phone calls and grainy video chats couldn't compare to just being next to her. I missed this, Rachel said softly, squeezing my hand across the table. Just us. Normal. Normal. That word meant everything to me. For 8 months, normal was sand, heat, danger, and brothers in arms keeping each other alive. This, Rachel's smile, her laugh, the way she looked at me, this was my normal. My reason. Around 10, I excused myself to the restroom. Quick wash, quick check. Military habits die hard. I was gone maybe 3 minutes. 3 minutes that changed everything. When I came back, I saw him immediately. Tall guy, mid-30s, expensive jacket, but drunk eyes. He was standing way too close to Rachel, leaning over our booth like he owned the space. Rachel's body language screamed discomfort, shoulders tight, leaning back, forced smile that wasn't reaching her eyes. I moved through the crowd, calm but focused. Years of training taught me to read situations before reacting. As I got closer, I heard his slurred voice. "Come on, beautiful. Ditch whoever you're waiting for. I'll show you a real good time." His hand reached out and touched her shoulder. Rachel pulled back. "I'm married. Please leave me alone." "Married?" He laughed, loud and obnoxious. "Don't see no husband. Maybe he doesn't appreciate what he's got. I'm right here." My voice cut through the noise. The guy, I'd later learn his name was Derek, turned slowly, sizing me up. I'm 6'1", lean but built, clean cut. To him, I probably looked like just another guy. That was his first mistake. "Oh, husband showed up," Derek sneered. His 2 buddies at the next table laughed, encouraging him. "Sorry, man. Your girl was looking lonely. Thought I'd keep her company. She's fine. Walk away." I said it once. Calm. Clear. No threat, just fact. But Derek was drunk, arrogant, and whatever brain cells he had were drowning in whiskey. Or what? He stepped closer, chest out, trying to intimidate me. "You gonna do something about it, tough guy?" Rachel's eyes met mine. I saw the trust there, the certainty that I'd handle this. But I also saw something else, fear. Not of Derek. Fear that this perfect night, our reunion, was being ruined by some drunk idiot. "Derek," the voice came from across the bar. Deep, authoritative. I didn't even turn around because I already knew. "Jake." My team leader. Derek's eyes flicked past me, and for the first time, I saw confusion cross his face. Then Rick stood up. Then Marcus. Then Danny, Chris, and Alex. 6 men, all built like they could break concrete with their bare hands. All wearing the same expression I was. Controlled patience running very, very thin. Jake walked over slowly, hands in his pockets, smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Evening, fellas. Having a good night." Derek's buddies had gone quiet. The whole bar had gone quiet, actually. Murphy, the bartender, former Marine who knew exactly who we were, just shook his head and pulled out his phone. Who the hell are you? Derek asked, but his voice had lost its edge. Friends of Ethan here, Jake said pleasantly. We just got back from deployment. Thought we'd celebrate our boy's homecoming. Then we see you, talking to his wife. Derek swallowed hard. You could see the math happening in his drunk brain, and it wasn't adding up in his favor. Look, man, I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't ask, I interrupted. You didn't care. You saw a woman alone and thought you could do whatever you wanted. It was just talking, bro, relax. Then why'd you touch her? Silence. Derek had no answer. His buddies were already standing, ready to bail. That's when Derek made his second mistake. Pride. Ego. Stupidity. Pick one. Whatever, man. She wasn't even that hot anyway. I felt Rachel flinch beside me. That did it. Not for me. I've been called worse things by enemy combatants. But disrespecting Rachel? That crossed a line. I took one step forward. Just one. Derek, reading the energy, swung wild. Drunk, uncoordinated, telegraphed from a mile away. I sidestepped, caught his wrist, and in 2 seconds had him face down on the floor, arm locked, not even breathing hard. The entire bar watched in stunned silence. You done? I asked quietly. Derek groaned, tried to struggle, realized he couldn't move. Yeah, I'm done. I let him go. Stood up. Helped Rachel out of the booth. Jake and the team formed a loose perimeter, calm but ready. That's when Murphy called it in. Police are on the way. Got the whole thing on camera. You're good, Ethan. Derek scrambled to his feet, face red with humiliation and rage. You think this is over? You have no idea who I am. My uncle runs this town. You just messed with the wrong family. I stared at him. Didn't blink. Get out. Derek left, flanked by his silent buddies. But that look in his eyes, rage, entitlement, vendetta, told me this wasn't finished. Rachel wrapped her arms around me, shaking slightly. I'm okay, but I knew better. Nothing about this was okay. And that threat Derek made? It was about to turn our lives upside down. The police arrived within 10 minutes. 2 officers, one older, gray-haired veteran type, the other younger, eager. They walked into Murphy's like they'd been here 100 times before. Probably had. Evening, Murphy, the older cop said, nodding at the bartender. His name tag read Officer Bennett. Got a call about an altercation? Murphy pointed at me, then at the door Derek had just stumbled through. Ethan here and his wife were having drinks. Drunk guys started harassing Rachel, wouldn't leave her alone. Grabbed her. Ethan defended his wife. Whole thing's on camera if you need it. Bennett's eyes swept over me, then my team still standing nearby. Recognition flickered across his face. You're the SEAL team that trains at the base outside town. Yes, sir, Jake answered, stepping forward. Lieutenant Jake Morrison. These are my men. We just returned from deployment yesterday. Ethan's first night back with his wife. Bennett nodded slowly, writing notes. The younger officer, Officer Hayes, was already talking to witnesses. Every single person in that bar told the same story. Derek was the aggressor. I defended my wife. Clean and simple. The guy who left, you get his name? Bennett asked me. Derek, I said. That's all I know. He said his uncle runs this town. Made threats before he left. Something changed in Bennett's expression. Not surprise. More like resignation. He exchanged a look with Murphy, who just shook his head. Derek Brennan, Murphy said quietly. Mayor Thomas Brennan's nephew. Kid's been trouble for years. Always gets away with it. Always. Rachel spoke up, her voice stronger now. What do you mean always? Bennett hesitated, choosing his words carefully. Let's just say, this isn't Derek's first incident. But charges never seemed to stick. The younger officer came back with his notes. 7 witnesses, all confirmed the same story. The victim, Mrs. Rachel here, was harassed and physically touched without consent. Subject Derek Brennan became aggressive when confronted through the first punch. Self-defense is clear. We pressing charges? Bennett asked, looking at Rachel. She looked at me, then back at Bennett. Yes. Absolutely yes. Bennett nodded. We'll file the report. Derek's probably at home by now, sleeping it off. We'll pick him up tomorrow morning for questioning. You'll need to come to the station, give formal statements. We'll be there, I said. The officers left. The bar slowly returned to normal volume, but people kept glancing our way. Jake put a hand on my shoulder. Brother, you handled that perfectly. Textbook restraint. Didn't feel like restraint, I admitted. Felt like holding back a freight train. Marcus laughed, dark and knowing. Yeah, well, that's what training's for. Civilian, you would have dropped him in one hit. Seal, you just embarrassed him. Which honestly, probably worse for his ego. Rachel was quiet beside me. Too quiet. I pulled her close, feeling her heartbeat against my chest, still racing. Hey, I whispered. You okay? Really okay? I don't want this to ruin tonight. Our first night back together. Her voice cracked slightly. I don't want to think about that guy anymore. Jake must have sensed it too. All right, change of plans. We're taking this celebration back to base. Officers' club, private room, just us. What do you say, Rachel? Let us give Ethan the proper welcome home. Rachel smiled, genuine this time. Yeah, that sounds perfect. We left Murphy's 20 minutes later. Murphy refused to let us pay. You boys serve our country. Least I can do is comp some drinks. Rachel, I'm sorry about what happened. You ever need anything, you come find me. The drive to base was quiet. Rachel sat close to me in the truck, her hand in mine. But my mind was racing. Derek Brennan, mayor's nephew. Threats. Charges that never stick. I'd dealt with enemies overseas. Trained, dangerous, lethal. But corruption at home? That was a different kind of fight. One I wasn't sure how to win. At the base officers club, my team pulled together a table, ordered food, told deployment stories that made Rachel laugh. For a couple hours, it felt normal again. My brothers, my wife, cold beer, stupid jokes. But around midnight, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. The text was simple. You made a big mistake tonight, soldier boy. You'll regret touching me. My uncle owns the police, the courts, everything. Watch your back. I showed Jake. His jaw tightened. Screenshot that. Forward it to me. We're documenting everything. You think this is serious? I asked. Jake's eyes were hard, calculating. Ethan, I've seen corruption in foreign countries that starts exactly like this. Small-town politics, family connections, untouchable people. Yeah, I think this is serious. But here's the thing. Derek just threatened a Navy SEAL. He has no idea what he just walked into. Rick leaned in, reading the text over Jake's shoulder. We going to war with a mayor's family? No, Jake said slowly. We're going to be smart about this. Legal. By the book. But if they want to play games. He looked at me. They picked the wrong team to mess with. Rachel noticed the tension. What's wrong? I debated lying, protecting her from this. But Rachel wasn't the kind of woman who wanted protection from truth. She wanted partnership. Derek sent a threat. Says his uncle will make things difficult for us. Rachel's expression went from worry to angry in seconds. That's witness intimidation. That's illegal. And documented, Jake added. Rachel, I know you're scared. But I promise you, we've got Ethan's back. And yours. Always. The team nodded, a wall of solidarity that made my chest tight. These weren't just colleagues. They were brothers. And in the teams, you never leave a brother behind. On the battlefield or at home. We stayed at the officers' club until 2 in the morning. When Rachel and I finally got home, a small rental house near base, she collapsed on the couch, exhausted. Some homecoming, she said, half laughing, half crying. I sat beside her, pulling her close. Hey, we're okay. Derek's just a drunk bully. His uncle might have local power, but we're not backing down. I know, Rachel whispered. But I'm scared, Ethan. What if they do something? What if they hurt your career? What if they won't? I kissed her forehead. Because we're going to do everything right. Legal. Documented. And if they try anything dirty, they'll find out what happens when you corner a SEAL team. Rachel smiled weakly. You really think you can win against a mayor? I thought about Jake's words. About my team. About the training, the missions, The impossible odds we'd faced and beaten. Baby, I've fought terrorists in 3 countries. I think I can handle one corrupt politician and his punk nephew. Rachel fell asleep in my arms an hour later. But I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, mind running tactical scenarios. Derek's threat played on repeat in my head. My uncle owns everything. Maybe he did. Maybe in this small town, Mayor Brennan was untouchable. But Derek made one critical error in his drunken rage tonight. He didn't just harass any woman. He harassed a Navy SEAL's wife. And he threatened her husband in front of his entire team. That wasn't just a mistake. That was a declaration of war. And in war, we don't lose. Morning came too fast. Rachel and I were at the police station by 9, giving our formal statements. Officer Bennett handled everything professionally, but I could see it in his eyes. He knew this case was about to get complicated. Statements filed, Bennett said, sliding papers across his desk. We'll bring Derek in for questioning this afternoon. With the witness statements, the bar footage, and the threatening text, we have a solid case for assault and intimidation. When's the court date? Rachel asked. Bennett hesitated. That depends on the DA's office. And other factors. You mean the mayor? I said flatly. Bennett didn't confirm or deny. Just gave me a look that said everything. We left the station and I felt Rachel's frustration radiating off her. They're going to let him walk, aren't they? Not if we fight back, I said. But honestly, I wasn't sure how to fight a system rigged against us. My phone rang. Jake. Ethan, get to Murphy's. Now. You need to see this. 20 minutes later, Rachel and I walked into Murphy's bar. It was empty except for my team, Murphy behind the counter, and his laptop open showing my face. What is this? I asked. Marcus turned the laptop toward me. It was a local Facebook group, thousands of members. And there, posted 2 hours ago, was a video. Shaky phone footage from last night. But it was edited. Cut to make it look like I attacked Derek unprovoked. The caption read, Local veteran attacks innocent man at Murphy's bar. Navy SEAL uses military training to assault civilian. Is this who we trust to protect us? My blood went cold. It gets worse, Danny said, scrolling down. The post had 847 shares. Hundreds of comments. Half defending me. Half calling me a dangerous psycho who should be dishonorably discharged. Who posted this? Rachel's voice shook with anger. Account belongs to Derek's friend. The one who was with him last night, Jake said. This is a coordinated smear campaign. They're trying to turn public opinion against Ethan before the case even goes to trial. Murphy slammed his hand on the counter. This is garbage. I've got the full footage. Shows everything. Derek harassing Rachel, throwing the first punch, all of it. Then we post it, Rachel said immediately. Fight back. Show people the truth. No, Jake said quietly. That's what they want. A public war. Derek's family has money, connections, media access. We go public, they'll twist every word. We need to be smarter. So what do? I asked, feeling helpless. I'd faced armed insurgents without flinching. But this, character assassination, lies spread online, I didn't know how to fight this. Have you ever been falsely accused of something you didn't do? How did you prove your innocence? Drop your story in the comments. I want to hear how you fought back. Rick was typing on his phone. I'm reaching out to a military lawyer I know. Captain Lisa Morgan. She specializes in protecting service members from civilian legal issues. If anyone can navigate this, it's her. How fast can she get here? Jake asked. She's stationed 2 hours away. Says she can be here by this afternoon. We waited. Those hours felt like days. Rachel scrolled through the Facebook comments, getting angrier with each lie she read. I wanted to tell her to stop, but I understood. Sometimes you need to see the enemy clearly to know what you're fighting. At 2 p.m., Captain Lisa Morgan walked into Murphy's bar like she owned the place. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, military posture, carrying a briefcase that probably cost more than my truck. Lieutenant Morrison, she greeted Jake with a handshake, then turned to me. Petty Officer Ethan. I've read Rick's briefing. Show me everything. We laid it out. The harassment, the assault, the threats, the edited video. Derek's history that somehow never resulted in convictions. Mayor Brennan's reputation for making problems disappear. Morgan listened, took notes, watched Murphy's full security footage twice. Then she sat back and smiled. Not a friendly smile. A predatory one. Gentlemen, Mrs. Rachel, you've stumbled into something much bigger than a bar fight. What do you mean? Rachel asked. Morgan opened her briefcase, pulled out a folder. Mayor Thomas Brennan has been under federal investigation for corruption for 8 months. Bribery, misuse of public funds, intimidation of witnesses in multiple cases. The FBI has been building a case, but needed a catalyst, something public that would force everything into the light. My heart started pounding. You're saying this situation could be exactly what federal investigators need, Morgan finished. Derek assaulting you, threatening you, his uncle using political power to interfere with justice? That's obstruction. That's corruption. That's federal crimes being committed in real time. Jake leaned forward. You're saying we can use this? Turn it against them. Not just use it, Morgan said. We can end the Brennan family's corruption permanently. But it requires patience, strategy, and trust. What's the plan? I asked. Morgan's smile widened. We let Derek think he's winning. The room went silent. Rachel looked at me, confused and worried. What does that mean? It means, Morgan explained, we don't fight the smear campaign. We let public opinion turn against Ethan. We let Derek get cocky. We let Mayor Brennan think his power play worked. And while they're celebrating their victory, federal investigators document every illegal move they make. You want us to just take it? Let them destroy Ethan's reputation. Rachel's voice rose. Temporarily, Morgan said gently. I know it's hard, but Mrs. Rachel, your husband's reputation will be restored. Completely. When this is over, Derek and his uncle will be in federal prison. But only if we're smart. Only if we play this right. I looked at Jake. He was thinking, calculating. It's a solid strategy. We've run ops like this overseas. Let the enemy think they've won, then hit them when they're exposed. This isn't overseas, Rachel said. This is our life. Our home. People in this town already think Ethan's some kind of violent maniac. For a few weeks, Morgan countered. Then they'll know the truth. All of it. And the Brennan family will never hurt anyone in this town again. I took Rachel's hand, looked into her eyes. What do you think? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, I think I hate this plan. But I also think it might be the only way to actually win. Morgan nodded approvingly. Smart woman. Okay, here's what happens next. Derek will be brought in for questioning today. His uncle will make calls, pull strings, and Derek will likely walk with minimal charges. The DA, Michael Hayes, is one of the good ones, but he's outgunned by Brennan's political power. When Derek walks free, he'll celebrate. Publicly. That's when he gets careless. And we document everything, Jake said. Everything, Morgan confirmed. I'm coordinating with FBI agent Thompson, who's leading the Brennan investigation. Every thread, every illegal interference, every bribe, it all goes into the federal case file. My phone buzzed. Officer Bennett. Derek's here for questioning. Thought you should know. His uncle just walked in with 3 lawyers. This is about to be a circus. I showed the text to Morgan. She just smiled. Perfect. Let them think money and lawyers make them untouchable. The higher they climb, the harder they fall. We spent the next hour planning. Morgan laid out exactly how this would go down. The patience required. The hits we'd have to take publicly. The long game. When she finally left, the team sat in silence for a while. You good with this? Marcus asked me. Was I? Letting my name get dragged through mud? Watching Rachel suffer through lies and accusations? Trusting that some federal case would eventually make it right? I'm good, I said. Because the alternative was worse. Derek walking free forever, hurting more women. The mayor's corruption continuing unchecked. Rachel squeezed my hand. Then I'm good too. That night, news broke. Derek Brennan released on his own recognizance. Assault charges reduced to disorderly conduct. Court date set for 6 weeks out. The Facebook comments exploded. See? The seal is the real criminal. Derek's innocent. I watched it all unfold and felt nothing. Because this wasn't the battle. This was just noise. The real war was just beginning. The next 72 hours were hell in slow motion. Derek's edited video went viral locally. 6,000 shares. The town Facebook groups exploded with opinions. Half the people defended me, veterans, bar regulars, people who knew the truth. The other half called for my dishonorable discharge, said I was dangerous, a trained killer who couldn't control himself in civilian life. Rachel stopped reading the comments after the first day. I watched her close her laptop, hands shaking, eyes wet with angry tears she refused to let fall. They don't know you, she whispered. They don't know anything. But words cut deeper than knives sometimes. Especially lies. Captain Morgan's plan required patience. We documented everything. Every threatening message, every false accusation, every instance of the mayor's office interfering with the investigation. FBI agent Thompson was building his case, brick by brick, but federal investigations moved slowly. Too slowly for my taste. Jake came by the house every day. My whole team did, rotating like guards on a perimeter. They brought food, company, and most importantly, sanity. Derek's getting cocky, Marcus reported on day 3. Saw him at a restaurant downtown, loud and drunk again, bragging about how his uncle made your assault charge disappear. Let him brag, I said, repeating Morgan's words like a mantra. Arrogant men make mistakes. You really believe that? Marcus asked. I had to. The alternative was admitting we were powerless. On day 4, Rachel got a call from her boss. She worked as a nurse at County Medical Center. Good job, respected position. Past tense. They're putting me on administrative leave, she told me, phone still in her trembling hand. Pending investigation into my husband's criminal conduct. They said it's policy. They said, her voice broke. They said it's for the safety of the patients. That did it. That broke something in me. Derek harassing Rachel was one thing. Threatening me was another. But going after her job, her career, making her pay for my choices? I called Captain Morgan immediately. I want to go public. I want to release Murphy's footage, fight back, in this. Ethan, I understand your anger, but no, you don't understand. They just destroyed Rachel's career. How much more are we supposed to take? Morgan was quiet for a moment. Ethan, I know this is hard, but Rachel's job can be restored. Her reputation will be cleared. When the federal case goes public and Mayor Brennan is arrested, every institution that turned against you will apologize. But if we move now, if we show our hand early, Derek and his uncle will lawyer up, destroy evidence, and we might lose our only chance to end their corruption permanently. I wanted to argue, wanted to fight, but deep down, I knew she was right. Rachel took the phone from me. How long? How long until this is over? 2 weeks, Morgan said. Maybe 3. Agent Thompson is close. Derek's been making calls, threatening witnesses, and we've recorded all of it. His uncle has been pressuring the DA, the police chief, even tried to contact Navy Command about Ethan's service record. Every move they make digs them deeper. And if they hurt someone else in those 2 weeks? Rachel asked quietly. If Derek harasses another woman? If he drives drunk and kills someone? Do we just wait? Morgan didn't have an answer for that. None of us did. That night, Rachel and I sat in our living room, lights off, just holding each other. No words. What was there to say? Around midnight, my phone lit up. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. A video message. I hesitated, then played it. Derek's face filled the screen, drunk and grinning. Hey, soldier boy. Heard your wife lost her job. That's rough, man. Maybe she should have thought about that before you attacked me. Oh, and this is just the beginning. My uncle's got friends everywhere. Banks, employers, landlords. You think losing a job is bad? Wait until you can't get a loan. Can't rent an apartment. Can't even get hired at McDonald's. We're going to destroy you, piece by piece, until there's nothing left. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. The video ended. I sat there, staring at my phone, rage and helplessness warring inside me. Rachel saw my face. What is it? I showed her. Watched her expression harden from fear to fury. Send it to Morgan, she said. Send it to the FBI. Send it to everyone. That's a direct threat. That's evidence. I did. Forwarded it to Morgan, Agent Thompson, Jake, everyone on the team. Morgan's response came within minutes. Perfect. This is exactly what we needed. Derek just committed federal witness intimidation on camera. Agent Thompson says we're moving up the timeline. 72 hours. Hold on, just 72 more hours. 3 more days of this nightmare. 3 more days of watching our lives get dismantled by a corrupt family that thought power made them untouchable. Jake called. Brother, I know you're at your breaking point, but you're a SEAL. We don't break. We bend, we adapt, and then we strike when the enemy least expects it. Derek thinks he's won. Let him think that for 3 more days. Then we end him. I looked at Rachel. She nodded, jaw set with determination that reminded me why I married her in the first place. Strong. Unbreakable. 72 hours, I said. Then this ends. But I had no idea how right, and how wrong, I was. Day 5. Rachel didn't get out of bed until noon. I'd seen combat stress, watched good men crumble under pressure, but seeing my wife, the strongest person I knew, lying there staring at the ceiling, defeated, that was worse than any firefight. I called the hospital, she said quietly. Asked if I could appeal the suspension. They said the decision came from the board of directors. Mayor Brennan sits on that board. Of course he did. That's how corruption worked. Tentacles reaching into every institution, choking out justice until people gave up fighting. But we weren't people. We were SEALs. And SEALs don't quit. My phone rang. Captain Morgan. Ethan, get to the federal building downtown. Agent Thompson wants to meet. Bring Rachel and your team. 30 minutes later, we walked into an unmarked office on the 3rd floor. FBI Agent Thompson was exactly what you'd expect. Mid-50s, gray suit, eyes that had seen too much and believed too little. Captain Morgan sat beside him, files spread across the table like evidence at a crime scene. Thank you for coming, Thompson said, shaking my hand with a grip that meant business. I've been investigating Mayor Brennan for 8 months. Your situation has accelerated everything. How? Jake asked. Thompson pulled out a file, opened it. Inside were transcripts, photos, recordings. After Derek sent you that threatening video, he made 17 phone calls. To the hospital board, to your landlord, to the DA's office, to 3 local business owners you've applied for loans with. Every single call is documented. Every single call is Mayor Brennan using his position to intimidate and retaliate against a federal witness. I'm a federal witness. I asked. You are now, Morgan said. The moment Derek harassed Rachel, assaulted you, and his uncle interfered with the investigation, this became a federal civil rights case. Your rights as a citizen were violated by a government official abusing his power. Rachel leaned forward. So what happens now? Thompson smiled, thin, cold, the smile of a man who'd just cornered his prey. Now we set a trap. Derek thinks he's won. The mayor thinks his power protects him. We're going to let them make one more mistake. A big one. Public. Undeniable. What kind of mistake? Marcus asked. The kind that happens when arrogant men feel untouchable, Thompson said. He slid a photo across the table. A woman, mid-20s, professional headshot. This is Kelly Richardson. She filed a restraining order against Derek Brennan 2 years ago. Assault, harassment, same pattern as what happened to Rachel. The case disappeared after Mayor Brennan personally called the judge. Let me guess, Rachel said bitterly. The judge is a friend of the mayor. Was, Thompson corrected. Judge Morrison retired last year after we approached him about his questionable decisions. He's cooperating now. Gave us everything. Recorded phone calls, emails, proof of bribes. Kelly Richardson and 2 other women are willing to testify against Derek if we can guarantee their safety and ensure the case actually goes to trial. 3 women, Rachel whispered. He's done this to 3 other women. That we know of, Morgan added. There are likely more who were too scared to come forward. The room went silent. I felt rage building, the kind I'd learned to control overseas but struggled with here, where the enemy wore suits and hid behind laws. What do you need from us? Jake asked. Thompson leaned back. Derek's assault case against Ethan goes to court in 5 days. We've been working with DA Michael Hayes. He's clean, hates the Brennans, wants them gone as much as we do. He's going to push for maximum penalties. The mayor will respond by pressuring the judge, threatening Hayes, maybe even trying to bribe court officials. We'll be recording everything. And when you have enough evidence? I asked. We arrest them both. Federal charges. Corruption, bribery, witness intimidation, civil rights violations. Mayor Brennan will face 10 to 15 years. Derek will face assault charges in multiple cases without his uncle's protection. Rachel's hand found mine under the table. 5 days. We can survive 5 more days. Thompson nodded. But I need to warn you. It's going to get worse before it gets better. The mayor knows his back is against the wall. Cornered animals are dangerous. Derek's getting more aggressive. You need to be careful. We can protect them, Jake said immediately. My team rotates security. They're never alone. Good, Thompson said. Because the Brennans aren't going to go down quietly. We left the federal building feeling something we hadn't felt in days, hope. Not the naive kind, but the hard-earned kind that comes from seeing a real plan, real evidence, real justice on the horizon. That night, Jake organized a security rotation. 2 team members at our house at all times. Marcus took first watch with Danny. Rick and Chris would relieve them at midnight. Alex coordinated with base security for backup if needed. This is excessive, Rachel said, but I could see the relief in her eyes. This is necessary, Jake corrected. The Brennans are desperate. Desperate people do desperate things. He was right. At 2 a.m., our security camera caught someone trying to enter our backyard. Marcus confronted them. Turned out to be a private investigator hired by the mayor's office, trying to plant evidence or find dirt. Marcus detained him until police arrived. Even that got twisted. The PI claimed he was just checking a gas leak. But Thompson got the footage. More evidence. More rope for the Brennans to hang themselves with. Day 6. Day 7. Each one felt like a year. Rachel tried to stay busy, called other victims, offered support, built a case separate from the legal one. A moral case. A human case. If we're going through this hell, she told me, we're going to make sure it means something. No more women get hurt by Derek. No more families get destroyed by that mayor. That's when I knew we'd already won. Not legally, not yet, but morally. Because the Brennans had tried to break us and instead made us stronger. Day 8. The day before court. My phone rang. Unknown number again. Not Derek this time. Mayor Brennan himself. Mr. Ethan, his voice was smooth, political, practiced. I think we got off on the wrong foot. My nephew made mistakes. You defended your wife. I respect that. What if we could make this all go away? Drop the charges. I restore your wife's job. Maybe even a compensation package. Say $50,000. Clean slate. I put him on speaker. Rachel, Jake, and Morgan were all listening. You're trying to bribe me, I said flatly. I'm trying to make peace, Brennan corrected. Court is messy, expensive, stressful. Why put yourselves through that when we can settle this like adults? Morgan was recording every word, nodding at me to keep him talking. And what about the other women Derek hurt? I asked. Silence. Then, I don't know what you're talking about. Kelly Richardson. And the 2 others. What about justice for them? Brennan's tone shifted, ice replacing warmth. You're making a mistake, son. I'm offering you a way out. Take it. Because if you show up in court tomorrow, I will destroy you. The call ended. Morgan smiled. And that's bribery and witness intimidation on a recorded line. We've got him. Tomorrow was court. Tomorrow was judgment day. Not just for Derek. For all of them. Court day. Rachel wore her navy blue suit. Professional, strong, unbreakable. I wore my service uniform. Captain Morgan's idea. Let the jury see who you really are, she'd said. A decorated serviceman, not the monster Derek's painted you as. The courthouse was packed. News crews outside. Protesters holding signs. Half supporting us, half calling me a violent thug. Social media had turned this into a circus, everyone with an opinion, nobody with facts. Inside, the courtroom felt smaller than I expected. Judge Patricia Henderson presided. Older woman, stern face, reputation for fairness. DA Michael Hayes sat at the prosecutor's table, files stacked like ammunition. Derek sat across from us with his $3,000 lawyer, smirking like he'd already won. Mayor Brennan sat in the gallery, front row, arms crossed. A message. A threat. I'm watching. The proceedings started. Hayes called witnesses. Murphy the bartender, patrons from the bar, even Jake and 2 of my team members. Each one told the truth. Derek harassed Rachel. Derek threw the first punch. I defended my wife with minimal force. Derek's lawyer tried to twist it. Isn't it true that Mr. Ethan is trained in lethal combat? That he could have killed my client with his bare hands? I could have, I answered honestly. But I didn't. I restrained him. That's called discipline. Or calculated violence, the lawyer countered. Perhaps you enjoyed using your military training on a civilian? Hayes objected. Judge Henderson sustained. But the damage was done, planting doubt, painting me as dangerous. Then Rachel testified. Strong, clear, unwavering. She described Derek's harassment, his refusal to leave her alone, how scared she'd been until I arrived. And when your husband intervened, what did you feel? Hayes asked. Safe, Rachel said simply. For the first time since that man approached me, I felt safe. Derek's lawyer tried to discredit her. Isn't it convenient that every witness supports your husband's story? It's called the truth, Rachel shot back. Not convenience. The courtroom murmured approval. Judge Henderson called for order. Then Hayes did something unexpected. He called a witness not listed in the original filing. The prosecution calls Kelly Richardson. Derek's face went white. His lawyer jumped up. Objection. This witness wasn't disclosed. This witness is relevant to establishing a pattern of behavior, Hayes argued. The defense has a right to cross-examine. Judge Henderson considered, then nodded. I'll allow it. But tread carefully, Mr. Hayes. Kelly Richardson walked to the stand, mid-20s, nervous but determined. She took the oath, sat down, and told her story. 2 years ago, Derek harassed her at a coffee shop, followed her to her car, grabbed her when she refused his advances. She filed charges, a restraining order. Then Mayor Brennan called the judge. The case vanished. The restraining order was administratively dismissed. Kelly was left with nothing but fear and the knowledge that powerful men could hurt her without consequence. Why come forward now? Hayes asked. Because I heard what happened to Rachel, Kelly said, voice shaking but strong. And I couldn't let another woman go through what I went through. I couldn't let Derek keep getting away with it. The courtroom was silent. You could hear breathing, the air conditioning, nothing else. Derek's lawyer tried to attack her credibility. You withdrew your complaint 2 years ago. Doesn't that suggest it wasn't serious? I withdrew it because the mayor threatened my father's business, Kelly said, tears streaming down her face. He said if I didn't drop it, my family would lose everything. So yes, I withdrew it. But that doesn't mean it wasn't real. Hayes let that sit. Then, Your Honor, I have 2 more witnesses with similar stories. Women Derek Brennan assaulted who were pressured into silence by Mayor Brennan's office. I respectfully request permission to call them. Judge Henderson looked at Derek, then at the mayor in the gallery. Something shifted in her expression, recognition, disgust, resolve. Permission granted. The next hour was devastating. 2 more women. Sarah Chun, assaulted 3 years ago at a party. Emma Torres, harassed at her workplace 18 months ago. Both filed complaints. Both were threatened, pressured, silenced by the mayor's interference. By the time they finished testifying, the jury looked sick. Derek looked panicked. His lawyer was frantically whispering to him, probably telling him they were done. Mayor Brennan stood up and walked out. A power move. A statement. But to me, it looked like retreat. Judge Henderson called recess. We gathered in a side room. Rachel, Hayes, Morgan, Jake, and me. That was incredible, Rachel said. Those women were so brave. They were, Hayes agreed. But we have a problem. The mayor just left. He's probably making calls right now, trying to intimidate the judge, threaten me, do damage control. Let him, Morgan said. She pulled out her phone, showed us a text from Agent Thompson. FBI has teams monitoring the mayor's phone, his office, his home. Every call he makes is evidence. Every threat is another charge. How much longer? I asked. Hours, Morgan said. Thompson's waiting for one more piece. Direct evidence of the mayor bribing a court official. The moment he makes that call, federal agents will move in. The recess ended. We returned to the courtroom. Judge Henderson looked different, tense, worried. She kept glancing at her phone. Mr. Hayes, do you have additional evidence? She asked. Just one more item, Your Honor. Hayes pulled out a laptop, connected it to the courtroom's display. This is security footage from Murphy's Bar. The complete, unedited version. Not the manipulated video that's been circulating online. He played it. 12 minutes of footage showing everything. Derek's harassment, his aggression, me restraining him without excessive force. The truth, raw and undeniable. The jury watched in silence. When it ended, Hayes rested his case. Derek's lawyer presented his defense. Character witnesses who'd clearly been paid to lie, trying to argue Derek was misunderstood, that the women were colluding. It was weak, desperate. Then Judge Henderson's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her expression went from worried to terrified. She called another recess, disappeared into her chambers. 10 minutes later, she returned with two men I recognized from the federal building. FBI agents. Ladies and gentlemen, Judge Henderson said, voice shaking. I've just been informed that this court is now under federal jurisdiction. This case is being elevated to include federal civil rights violations. The courtroom exploded. Derek's lawyer stood up, shouting objections. The mayor, who'd returned during the defense, went pale. Then the doors opened. Agent Thompson walked in with 6 federal agents. Derek Brennan, you're under arrest for assault, witness intimidation, and violation of civil rights. Mayor Thomas Brennan, you're under arrest for corruption, bribery, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to violate civil rights. Chaos. Derek tried to run. Federal agents tackled him. The mayor stood frozen as they handcuffed him in front of the entire courtroom, cameras recording everything. Rachel grabbed my hand. Is this real? It's real, I whispered. Agent Thompson approached us. Thank you for your patience. We couldn't move until we had everything. But 30 minutes ago, Mayor Brennan called Judge Henderson and offered her $50,000 to dismiss this case. She recorded the call and contacted us immediately. The first twist. Derek wasn't just a bully. He was a serial predator protected by a corrupt system. And that system had just collapsed. The news spread like wildfire. Mayor arrested. Nephew in custody. Federal corruption charges. Within hours, every local station was covering it. National news picked it up by evening. The small town that had protected the Brennans for decades suddenly turned on them. Rachel and I watched from our living room, surrounded by my team. The reporters stood outside the courthouse, camera crews everywhere. In a stunning development, Mayor Thomas Brennan and his nephew Derek have been arrested on multiple federal charges, including corruption, witness intimidation, and civil rights violations. FBI sources say this investigation has been ongoing for 8 months and involved multiple victims coming forward. Rachel leaned into me. It's really over. Not yet, Agent Thompson said from the doorway. We hadn't heard him come in. Derek and the mayor lawyered up immediately. Federal public defenders. They're smart enough not to talk. But we need them to make one more mistake. What kind of mistake? Jake asked. Thompson sat down, pulled out a folder. Derek's been released on federal bail. $500,000, posted by a family friend. House arrest, ankle monitor, the works. But men like Derek don't learn. They think they're untouchable, even when the walls are closing in. You want to bait him? I said. Use us as bait. Not quite, Thompson said. We already have enough to convict them both. But there are others, city officials who took bribes, judges who dismissed cases, business owners who paid protection money. The Brennan corruption runs deep. We need Derek to contact his co-conspirators, panic, try to cover their tracks. When he does, we catch them all. Rachel shook her head. So you're saying Derek's out there, angry, desperate, and you want to see what he does? He won't come near you, Thompson assured her. He violates house arrest. He goes straight to federal prison. But he'll make calls, send messages, reach out to people in the network. We're monitoring everything. Phones, emails, visitors. 72 hours. We'll have the entire corruption network mapped and prosecuted. And if he doesn't take the bait? Marcus asked. Thompson smiled grimly. Then we still have enough to put him away for 15 years. This is just about getting everyone involved. The next 2 days were tense. Derek stayed in his apartment, ankle monitor pinging his location every hour. But Thompson was right. Derek couldn't help himself. Day 1 of house arrest, Derek made 43 phone calls. To his lawyer, to city council members, to the police chief, to business owners his uncle had protected. Every call was recorded. Every person he contacted became part of the investigation. Day 2, someone visited Derek's apartment. City Councilman Robert Stone, carrying a briefcase. He stayed 20 minutes. When he left, FBI agents stopped him. Inside the briefcase, $50,000 in cash and a list of incriminating documents Derek was supposed to destroy. Stone was arrested on the spot, charged with obstruction of justice and conspiracy. Day 3, Derek tried something desperate. He contacted Kelly Richardson through a burner phone, number obtained from a friend who wasn't under surveillance. The message was simple. Drop your testimony and I'll pay you $100,000. Keep talking and bad things happen to your family. Kelly immediately contacted Agent Thompson. He traced the phone, found Derek's friend, arrested him for conspiracy and witness tampering. Derek was pulled back into federal custody, bail revoked. That's it. Thompson told us that evening. Derek just handed us everything we need. Direct witness intimidation from house arrest. Conspiracy with outside parties. The judge will throw the book at him. But the real victory came 3 days later. Agent Thompson held a press conference. Today, we're announcing the arrest of 12 individuals connected to a corruption network that has operated in this county for over a decade. City councilmen, business owners, and one sitting judge have been charged with bribery, extortion, and conspiracy. Mayor Thomas Brennan orchestrated a system where justice could be bought, witnesses could be silenced, and powerful people operated above the law. That ends today. Rachel watched the press conference with tears streaming down her face. Not sad tears. Relieved ones. All those women, she whispered. All those victims who were silenced. They're finally being heard. Kelly Richardson, Sarah Chun, and Emma Torres held their own press conference the next day. 3 women, standing together, telling their stories without fear. Kelly spoke first. For 2 years, I lived in fear. Fear that Derek would find me. Fear that speaking up would destroy my family. But thanks to Rachel and Ethan's courage and the FBI's investigation, I'm no longer afraid. Derek Brennan will face justice. Mayor Brennan will face justice. And every victim who was silenced has a voice again. The media coverage shifted. The same news outlets that had called me a violent veteran now praised my restraint and heroism. The same social media groups that had demanded my discharge now apologized and donated to veteran support organizations in my name. It would have been satisfying if it weren't so hollow. These people had been ready to destroy me based on lies. Now they celebrated me based on truth. But their support was just as fickle. Don't let it bother you, Jake said, reading my expression. Public opinion is a wave. It goes where the wind blows. What matters is you did the right thing when it was hard. Rachel's job called. The hospital board apologized profusely, offered her full reinstatement with back pay and a formal apology. She accepted the pay, declined the position. "I can't work for people who abandoned me the moment things got difficult," she told them. "I'll find somewhere that values loyalty." Within a week, she had 3 job offers from competing hospitals who'd followed the case and wanted her on their staff. She chose County General, better pay, better hours, and a director who personally called to say, "We judge people by their character, not their circumstances." DA Michael Hayes announced he was running for mayor in a special election. His platform: transparency, accountability, ending corruption. The town rallied behind him. Murphy's Bar became a local landmark. Tourists came to see, where the seal took down the mayor's nephew. Murphy hated the attention but loved the business. He hung a photo behind the bar. "Me, Rachel, and my team on the night everything went down. Heroes drink here." The caption read. "My team rotated back to regular duties, but we stayed close. Brothers for life, forged not just in combat overseas, but in the battle for justice at home." Derek's trial was set for 3 months out. Federal charges, multiple counts, facing 20 years minimum. His lawyer tried to negotiate a plea deal. Thompson refused. He threatened too many people, hurt too many women. He faces every charge. Mayor Brennan's trial was separate, federal corruption charges that could mean 15 years. His political career was over. His legacy was destroyed. The man who'd run the town for a decade would spend his final years in a federal prison. And me? I went back to being just Ethan, Navy SEAL, Rachel's husband, a man who defended his wife and accidentally exposed an entire corruption network. 3 weeks after the arrests, things felt almost normal. Rachel started her new job at County General. I returned to training rotations at the base. Life moved forward, slowly stitching itself back together. But Mayor Brennan wasn't done fighting. His lawyer, some high-priced defense attorney from New York, filed motion after motion, trying to suppress evidence, dismiss charges, claim entrapment. Every motion was denied, but it bought time, and time gave desperate men dangerous ideas. I first noticed the surveillance on a Tuesday morning. Black sedan, tinted windows, parked 3 houses down. Same car, different parking spot every day for a week. I told Jake, "Probably the defense team trying to dig up dirt," he said. But he ran the plates anyway. Registered to a private security firm in Nevada. The same firm Mayor Brennan had used for years. Agent Thompson confirmed it. Brennan's lawyer hired them to investigate you, hoping to find something that discredits your testimony. It's legal, unfortunately, but we're monitoring them. How close can they get? Rachel asked, worried. They can't approach you, can't trespass, can't threaten. Just observe from public spaces. It's intimidation tactics, hoping you'll make a mistake or back down. We didn't back down, but the stress was wearing on Rachel. She'd wake up at night, check the windows, make sure doors were locked. The fear Derek had planted was growing roots. Then the letters started arriving. Not to our house, to Rachel's hospital. Anonymous letters, claiming I had PTSD, that I was violent, that the hospital was putting patients at risk by employing my wife. Hospital security traced them back to a P.O. box registered under a fake name. "This is witness intimidation," Captain Morgan said when we showed her. "Indirect, but still illegal. We can add it to the charges." But the damage was done. Rachel's new supervisor called her in, asked uncomfortable questions about my mental health, my service record. Rachel defended me fiercely, but I could see it was taking a toll. "They're trying to break us before trial," I said to Jake one evening. "Make us so exhausted we'll settle or refuse to testify." "They're underestimating you," Jake replied. "Both of you." The next attack came from an unexpected direction. My Navy command received an official complaint, anonymous, but detailed, claiming I'd used excessive force on a civilian and misrepresented the incident. It triggered a formal military investigation. Captain Morgan was furious. "This is Brennan's lawyer. He's trying to destroy your military career, hoping it discredits you as a witness." The investigation meant interviews, reviews of my service record, testimony from my team. It was all procedural, but it was designed to humiliate and exhaust me. Make me look like the problem. Jake, Marcus, Danny, Rick, Chris, and Alex testified on my behalf. Every one of them gave the same account. I'd acted with restraint, protected my wife, done everything by the book. My commanding officer reviewed the case and dismissed the complaint within a week. Petty Officer Ethan is one of the most disciplined servicemen I've commanded, his official statement read. This complaint is baseless and appears to be a coordinated attempt to discredit a federal witness. But the attacks kept coming. Someone leaked our home address online. We started getting hate mail, death threats from Brennan supporters who believed the corruption narrative was a government conspiracy. Base security had to increase patrols around our neighborhood. "This is insane," Rachel said one night, reading another threatening letter. "How is this legal? How is Brennan orchestrating all this from jail?" "He's not," Agent Thompson said during an emergency meeting at our house. "His lawyer is. And technically, most of what they're doing is just inside legal boundaries. Investigations, public records requests, hiring private security. It's all defensible as trial preparation. So we just take it?" I asked, frustrated. Thompson leaned forward. "No, we document it. Every letter, every surveillance car, every intimidation tactic. It builds our case that Brennan and his associates are continuing to obstruct justice even from custody. And we have something they don't know about." He pulled out his phone, played a recording. Mayor Brennan's voice, speaking to someone on a jail phone call. "I don't care what it costs. Destroy that SEAL's credibility. Make him look like a violent psycho. By the time I go to trial, no jury will believe him over me." "Jail calls are recorded," Thompson said. "Brennan knows that, but he's so desperate he doesn't care. This recording proves he's orchestrating the harassment campaign. It's direct evidence of continued criminal conduct." "Can you arrest him again?" Rachel asked. "He's already in custody, but we can add charges." "And his lawyer?" "If we can prove he's knowingly participating in witness intimidation, he'll be disbarred and charged as an accomplice." 2 days later, FBI agents raided the defense attorney's office. They found everything: contracts with the private security firm, drafts of the anonymous letters, payments to individuals who'd filed false complaints against me. The lawyer tried to claim attorney-client privilege. Federal prosecutors argued he'd crossed the line from defense to conspiracy. The judge agreed. Brennan's lawyer was arrested, disbarred, and charged with obstruction of justice. Brennan had to get a public defender, the very thing his money and power had always protected him from. Without his expensive legal team, Brennan's defense collapsed. The motion stopped. The harassment ended. The surveillance cars disappeared. Rachel and I could finally breathe. "Is it really over?" she asked one evening, sitting on our porch, watching the sunset. "The harassment is," I said, "but the trial's still coming. They'll still fight." "Let them," Rachel said, surprising me with her strength. "We've survived everything they threw at us. We'll survive the trial too." She was right. We'd been tested, pushed to our limits, and we hadn't broken. If anything, we were stronger. Mayor Brennan had tried to destroy us to save himself. Instead, he destroyed his own defense and proved exactly why he deserved to be in prison. 2 months later, the trial began. Federal courthouse, downtown. Security was intense: metal detectors, armed marshals, media circus outside. This wasn't just Derek and Mayor Brennan on trial. This was a decade of corruption finally facing justice. Rachel and I arrived early, flanked by Jake and Marcus. Captain Morgan met us at the entrance, briefcase in hand, confident and ready. "Big day," she said. "You ready?" "As ready as I'll ever be," I replied. The courtroom was packed. Victims, journalists, supporters, and curious townspeople filled every seat. Derek sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit. No bail this time. His public defender looked exhausted, buried under evidence he couldn't fight. Mayor Brennan sat separately, different defense team, trying to distance himself from his nephew's actions. Judge Patricia Henderson presided again. the same judge from the preliminary hearing. She'd been cleared of any corruption ties and had a personal stake in seeing justice served after Brennan tried to bribe her. The United States versus Derek Brennan and Thomas Brennan, she announced. We'll begin with opening statements. The federal prosecutor, Assistant U.S. Attorney Jennifer Walsh, stood. Mid-40s, sharp suit, reputation for never losing corruption cases. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about power. The power to hurt people without consequence. The power to silence victims. The power to corrupt an entire system of justice. Derek Brennan used his family's influence to assault multiple women, knowing his uncle would make charges disappear. Mayor Thomas Brennan abused his political office to obstruct justice, bribe officials, and intimidate witnesses. Together, they created a system where the powerful operated above the law. Today, that ends. Derek's lawyer stood next. Young, nervous, clearly overwhelmed. The defense will show that my client made mistakes, but those mistakes don't equal the conspiracy the government alleges. Derek Brennan is not a monster. He's a young man who made poor choices while intoxicated. It was a weak opening. Everyone in that courtroom knew it. Mayor Brennan's lawyer was more polished. Thomas Brennan served this community for 12 years. Yes, he made calls on his nephew's behalf. What uncle wouldn't try to help family? But the government has twisted family loyalty into criminal conspiracy. We'll show that Mayor Brennan never bribed anyone, never threatened anyone, and never obstructed justice. Walsh called her first witness. Me. I took the stand, swore to tell the truth, sat down facing the jury. 12 people who would decide if justice mattered more than power. Walsh walked me through that night at Murphy's bar. Derek's harassment. The assault. My restraint. Every detail, calm and factual. And after the incident, did Derek Brennan contact you? Walsh asked. Yes. He sent threatening text messages and a video message saying his uncle would destroy my life. Walsh played the video for the jury. Derek's drunk face, his threats, his arrogance. Several jurors looked disgusted. Derek's lawyer cross-examined me. Mr. Ethan, you're trained to kill people, aren't you? I'm trained to protect people, I corrected. But you could have killed my client with your bare hands. I could have. I didn't. That's called discipline. Or perhaps you enjoyed the power. Enjoyed humiliating a civilian. I enjoyed protecting my wife. Nothing more. He tried to rattle me for 20 minutes. Failed. Military training teaches you to stay calm under pressure. A lawyer's questions were nothing compared to combat interrogations. Rachel testified next. Strong, clear, emotional when describing how scared she'd been. I thought he was going to hurt me. Then Ethan was there, and I knew I was safe. Then Walsh called Kelly Richardson. Then Sarah Chun. Then Emma Torres. 3 women, 3 stories, same pattern. Derek assaulted them. Mayor Brennan made it disappear. The jury was visibly moved. 2 women were crying. 1 man shook his head in disgust. Then Walsh dropped the bombshell. The prosecution calls Judge William Morrison, retired. The courtroom gasped. Morrison was the judge who dismissed Kelly's case 2 years ago. He walked to the stand slowly, guilt written across his face. Judge Morrison, did you dismiss charges against Derek Brennan in 2023? Yes. Why? Morrison took a breath. Because Mayor Brennan called me. Told me Derek was a good kid who made a mistake. Offered to support my re-election campaign with a $50,000 donation if I made the case go away. I was facing a tough election. I needed the money. So I dismissed the case. You accepted a bribe? Yes. His voice cracked. I've regretted it every day since. Derek's face went pale. Mayor Brennan whispered frantically to his lawyer. Walsh wasn't done. She called the city councilman arrested during Derek's house arrest. He testified about years of bribes, favors, and corruption orchestrated by Mayor Brennan. Called the police chief, who admitted pressuring officers to drop charges against Derek. Called the hospital board member, who confirmed Brennan ordered Rachel's suspension. 12 witnesses. 12 people who'd participated in or witnessed the corruption. each one more damaging than the last. Then Walsh played the recordings. The mayor's jail phone calls plotting against me. The recorded bribe offered to Judge Henderson. Derek's witness intimidation from house arrest. The defense had nothing. Derek's lawyer called character witnesses who testified he was usually nice when sober. Mayor Brennan's lawyer tried to argue the phone calls were taken out of context. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they returned, the forewoman stood. On the charges of assault and battery, we find Derek Brennan guilty. On the charges of witness intimidation, guilty. On the charges of conspiracy to obstruct justice, guilty. Derek collapsed in his chair. On the charges against Thomas Brennan, corruption, bribery, obstruction of justice, witness intimidation, conspiracy, we find the defendant guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted. Cheering, crying, reporters rushing out to break the news. Judge Henderson called for order. Derek Brennan, you are sentenced to 22 years in federal prison. Thomas Brennan, you are sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. Both of you have betrayed the public trust and victimized innocent people. Justice has been served. Rachel grabbed my hand, tears streaming down her face. Not sad tears. Relief. Victory. Closure. Outside the courthouse, the world had changed. News vans broadcast the verdict live. Reporters swarmed us the moment we stepped through the doors, microphones and cameras everywhere. Ethan, how do you feel about the verdict? Rachel, what would you say to other victims of assault? Will you be pursuing civil damages? Captain Morgan stepped forward, shielding us. My clients are grateful justice has been served. They won't be taking questions at this time. But Rachel stopped, turned back to the cameras. I could see the determination in her eyes. This wasn't just about us anymore. I want to say something, she said quietly. Morgan nodded. Rachel faced the cameras, composed and strong. To every woman who's been harassed, assaulted, or silenced by powerful men, your voice matters. Your truth matters. Don't let anyone tell you that seeking justice isn't worth it. It's hard. It's exhausting. But it's worth it. Today proved that. The reporters went silent, recording every word. Then Rachel took my hand, and we walked to our car, leaving the circus behind. The aftermath was swift. Within days, the town council held emergency elections. Michael Hayes won the mayoral position with 72% of the vote. His first act? Establishing an independent oversight committee to investigate all dismissed criminal cases from the past decade. They found 43 cases where charges had mysteriously disappeared. 18 involved assault. 12 involved domestic violence. 8 involved theft and corruption, all connected to Mayor Brennan's interference. Kelly, Sarah, and Emma started a nonprofit, Voices Restored, dedicated to helping victims of assault navigate the legal system and find support. Rachel volunteered twice a week, using her nursing background to provide trauma-informed care. This is what it was all about, she told me one evening after a volunteer shift. Not revenge, not just stopping Derek, but making sure no one else goes through what we did. My team threw a celebration at Murphy's Bar, the place where it all started. Murphy hung a new photo behind the counter. All of us, Rachel included, raising glasses together. The caption read, "Justice served here." Jake raised his beer. To Ethan and Rachel, 2 civilians who took down an entire corruption network. You made us proud, brother. Couldn't have done it without you guys, I said. Any of you. Marcus grinned. That's what brothers are for. On the battlefield or at home. The military cleared my service record completely. My commanding officer issued a formal commendation. Petty Officer Ethan demonstrated exceptional restraint, integrity, and commitment to justice both in service and civilian life. He is a credit to the Navy SEALs and the United States military. Rachel's new hospital honored her with a Community Service Award for her volunteer work with assault survivors. She accepted it quietly, saying only, "I'm just doing what's right." 6 months after the trial, I got a call from Agent Thompson. Thought you'd want to know, Derek tried to appeal his sentence. Federal appeals court denied it. He'll serve all 22 years. Same with Mayor Brennan. 18 years, no early release. Good, I said simply. There's more, Thompson continued. Your case became a model for federal civil rights prosecutions. 3 other towns have reached out, saying they have similar corruption problems. Your testimony helped prosecutors understand how to build these cases. You've made an impact beyond just your own situation. After we hung up, I thought about that. Rachel and I had just wanted justice for one night at a bar. We'd ended up exposing systemic corruption and helping victims across multiple communities. A year later, Rachel and I stood in Murphy's bar again. Same booth where Derek had harassed her. But everything else was different. The town was different. New mayor, reformed police department, corruption oversight committee, victim support services. We were different, stronger, more purposeful, connected to a community of survivors and advocates. You ever think about that night? Rachel asked, sipping her drink. Every day, I admitted. But not with anger anymore. With gratitude. Gratitude that we didn't back down. That we fought for what was right. That we helped other people find justice too. Rachel smiled, the kind of smile that reached her eyes and warmed everything around her. You know what the best part is? What? Derek and his uncle thought power made them untouchable. But they learned the truth. Justice is more powerful than corruption. Truth is more powerful than lies. And people willing to stand up, even when it's hard, are more powerful than people who abuse their authority. Jake walked over, Marcus and the team behind him. You two ready? We've got a surprise. They led us outside, where a small crowd had gathered. Kelly, Sarah, Emma, and 15 other women from the Voices Restored program stood holding candles. Kelly stepped forward. We wanted to thank you, not just for stopping Derek, but for showing us that fighting back matters, that our voices matter. Because of you, 18 women have come forward with assault charges that were previously dismissed. 12 cases have been reopened, and 5 abusers are now in prison who were walking free a year ago. Emma added, you didn't just save yourselves. You saved all of us. Rachel's eyes filled with tears, not sad ones, proud ones. The women held a moment of silence, then sang a song, something soft and healing about strength and survival. When they finished, the small crowd applauded. Murphy brought out a plaque. For the Wall of Honor, he said. It read, on this night, justice prevailed. In this place, courage was born, dedicated to Ethan and Rachel. Proof that one person standing up can change everything. Rachel looked at me, squeezed my hand. We did it. We did, I agreed. Together. That night, walking home under the stars, Rachel said something I'll never forget. You know what Derek took from me that night at the bar? What? My sense of safety. My belief that good people are protected. My trust in the system. She paused. But you know what we took back? I waited. Everything. And we gave it to other people too. That's not just justice, Ethan. That's redemption. She was right. This story wasn't about revenge. It was about ordinary people refusing to let corruption and power win. It was about turning pain into purpose, fear into strength, and injustice into lasting change. Derek and Mayor Brennan were in prison. The town was healing. Victims were finding justice. And Rachel and I? We were just 2 people who loved each other and refused to let bullies win. Sometimes that's all it takes to change the world. 2 years later, Rachel and I sat on the porch of our new house, small, peaceful, overlooking a lake about an hour from the base. We'd left the rental near town, needed a fresh start somewhere that wasn't haunted by memories of surveillance cars and threatening letters. Life had settled into something beautiful. Rachel was promoted to senior nurse at County General, leading the trauma unit. I'd completed another deployment, came home safe, and was training the next generation of SEALs. We had routines, peace, normalcy, but the work wasn't finished. Voices Restored had grown into a regional organization with chapters in 4 states. Kelly Richardson became the executive director, Sarah Chun ran legal advocacy, Emma Torres handled community outreach. Rachel served on the board, dedicating weekends to helping survivors navigate the system that had once failed them. We got another call today, Rachel told me one evening. A woman in Ohio. Her abuser is a state senator. Local police won't investigate because of his connections. What are you going to do? I asked. Rachel smiled. Connect her with a federal civil rights attorney. Share our story. Show her she's not alone and that powerful people can be held accountable. That was our life now. Not just surviving what happened to us, but using it to help others survive too. Jake visited regularly. The whole team did. They'd become family, not just my brothers in arms, but Rachel's family too. Marcus was dating Kelly now, something that surprised all of us, but made perfect sense. Two people who'd been through trauma, finding healing together. Never thought a bar fight would lead to me meeting someone like her. Marcus admitted over beers one night. But I'm grateful it did. DA-turned-Mayor Michael Hayes transformed the town. Corruption oversight was permanent now. Independent investigators reviewed every case, and victim advocacy services were fully funded. The town that had once protected predators now protected survivors. Derek's appeals were exhausted. 22 years in federal prison, no chance of early release. Letters from women he'd hurt kept coming to the prosecutor's office. Women who'd been too scared to come forward before, now finding the courage to speak their truth. 10 more women testified in supplementary hearings. Derek's sentence was extended to 30 years. Mayor Brennan wasn't doing well in prison. Federal inmates don't respect corrupt politicians. He'd requested protective custody after multiple incidents. He'd serve every day of his 18-year sentence isolated, powerless, forgotten. Sometimes Rachel wondered if we should feel sorry for them. No, I told her. They chose to hurt people. They chose power over decency. Consequences aren't cruelty, they're justice. One morning, Rachel showed me a letter. It was from a high school girl in another state who'd seen our story on the news. Dear Rachel and Ethan, I was assaulted by a popular athlete at my school. Everyone told me to stay quiet because his future mattered more than mine. But I saw what you did. I saw that you fought back. So I reported him. The school tried to cover it up, but my parents got lawyers and went to the media. He was arrested yesterday. I wanted you to know, your courage gave me courage. Thank you for not giving up. Rachel read it 3 times, tears streaming down her face. This is why it mattered. This is why we went through hell. Yeah, I agreed. It is. That weekend, Murphy's Bar held its annual Justice Day, a community celebration commemorating the night that changed everything. Murphy invited us every year. This time, we brought the whole team. The bar was packed with survivors, advocates, reformed city officials, and community members who'd stood with us. Murphy unveiled a scholarship fund in our name, supporting young people pursuing careers in law, social work, and victim advocacy. You two started something bigger than you realize, Murphy said, raising his glass. Here's to Ethan and Rachel. Proof that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they refuse to back down. The crowd cheered. Rachel blushed, never comfortable with attention. But I squeezed her hand, reminded her that this celebration wasn't about ego, it was about hope. Later that night, walking along the lake behind our house, Rachel stopped and looked at the stars. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't been there that night? She asked. Every day, I admitted. Derek would have hurt you. Maybe worse. And he would have gotten away with it like he always did. But you were there, Rachel said softly. And because you were, everything changed. Not just for me, but for Kelly, Sarah, Emma, that high school girl, and dozens of others we'll never even meet. She turned to me, eyes bright with emotion I couldn't quite name. Not sadness, not fear. Something deeper. Purpose, gratitude, love mixed with understanding that pain can become power if you let it. I need you to know something, Rachel continued. That night at Murphy's was the worst and best thing that ever happened to me. Worst because I felt helpless and scared. Best because it showed me who you really are, not just a soldier, but a protector. And it showed me who I could be, not just a victim, but a voice for people who can't speak for themselves. I pulled her close, kissed her forehead. We did that together. Yeah, she smiled. We did. Standing there under the stars, I thought about everything we'd been through. The harassment, the threats, the corruption, the trial, the exhaustion of fighting a system designed to protect the powerful. It had been hell, but it had also been worth it. Because Derek and Mayor Brennan were in prison. Because corruption had been exposed and dismantled. Because dozens of women found justice. Because a broken system was being rebuilt. Because love and courage proved stronger than power and fear. Rachel and I weren't heroes. We were just two people who refused to let bullies win. And sometimes, that's all it takes. The stars above us shone bright, indifferent to human struggles, but somehow comforting in their permanence. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more survivors needing help, more corruption to fight, more work to do. But tonight we were just Ethan and Rachel, husband and wife. Two people who loved each other and changed the world by refusing to stay silent. And that was enough. Have you ever had to stand up against someone powerful who thought they were untouchable? How did you find the courage to fight back? Share your story in the comments below.